Las Vegas was once the city that never blinked, a place where the lights of the Strip drowned out every fear, and the promise of fortune drew millions of tourists from around the world. But today, behind the neon glow, a darker reality is impossible to ignore. Hotel towers that once boasted record occupancy rates now sit with empty floors. Casino halls that used to roar with cheers and the ringing of slot machines are eerily quiet. Even the world-famous buffets, once packed with visitors eager to eat all they could, are shrinking or shutting down. The collapse didn't come overnight. It's been building for years, fueled by corporate greed, bad decisions, and a system that squeezed visitors until they finally walked away. Resort fees, parking charges, triple-zero roulette tables, and overpriced meals, every choice chipped away at trust. And while casino executives gambled on billion-dollar projects like Formula One and the Sphere, they lost sight of the one truth Vegas was built on: people only return if they feel like winners. Now, with visitor numbers down, hotel rooms, unbooked workers laid off, and families leaving the valley, the city faces a breaking point it may never recover from. Economists warn that what's happening here isn't just a Vegas crisis, it's a warning for America itself. The question is no longer if Las Vegas can be saved. The question is whether it's already too late. The first cracks in Las Vegas's empire didn't come from flashing headlines or dramatic scandals. They appeared quietly in the numbers that once defined the city's success. By mid-2025, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority reported just 1966 million visitors year-to-date, a sharp decline from the 42.5 million tourists who filled the Strip back in 2019. That drop isn't just a statistic. It's the lifeblood of a city that lives and dies on tourism. Hotel occupancy rates, once comfortably above 90%, now often slide below 80%, leaving entire floors empty in mega resorts built for nonstop traffic. Even during peak weekends, when conventions or sports events should bring a surge of guests, room availability remains disturbingly high. For a city where empty beds mean lost revenue, this is a red flag. The problem doesn't stop at hotels. Casino floors, the beating heart of Vegas, are losing energy. Regulars who once filled blackjack tables or crowded around roulette wheels now spend less or stay away entirely. The shift became clear when casinos introduced triple-zero roulette, stacking odds even more against the player. It was supposed to be a clever revenue trick, but instead, it sparked anger. Many tourists saw it as proof that Vegas stopped caring about fairness. Even the buffets, long a symbol of Vegas indulgence, are disappearing. Families once bragged about eating like kings for cheap piling plates high at Caesar's Palace's Bacchanal Buffet or the Bellagio Buffet. Today, rising costs and fewer customers have forced closures or price hikes so steep that the average tourist simply says no. In an era where travelers expect value, a $50 buffet ticket feels like betrayal, not luxury. The truth is, people are finding alternatives. Global tourism flows have shifted. Instead of flying to the Nevada desert, travelers are spending their money in Mexico's all-inclusive resorts, Canada's natural parks, Japan's neon districts, and European cultural hubs. These destinations offer clear value and none of the hidden fees that Vegas has become infamous for. For many Americans, even domestic travel to places like Florida or Texas feels more affordable and less exhausting than a trip to the Strip. This is why the so-called slowdown is not just a temporary slump. The numbers show a long-term trend: fewer tourists, shorter stays, smaller spending. In 2019, the average Vegas visitor stayed 3.4 nights. Now stays have shrunk to barely 2 nights. Spending per visitor has also dropped as tourists cut back on gambling and skip overpriced entertainment shows. When tourists change habits this drastically, a city built entirely on their wallets cannot adjust quickly. The early warning signs: empty rooms, shrinking buffets, quieter casinos, shorter visits, all point in one direction, a system already unraveling. What makes it worse is denial. Casino executives continue to reassure investors that the numbers will bounce back. But for workers and small businesses on the ground, the change is undeniable. The Strip no longer feels invincible, and if Vegas can't hold on to its tourists, the foundation that built the entertainment capital of the world starts to crumble. If the early warning signs revealed cracks in the system, the real damage came from the decisions of casino corporations themselves. What was once billed as the ultimate playground for ordinary Americans slowly turned into a trap filled with hidden costs, bad odds, and billion-dollar gambles that never paid off. Start with the infamous resort fee. Once upon a time, a guest booking a room at the Bellagio or MGM Grand expected the price they saw to be the price they paid. But now, travelers often arrive to find an additional $40 to $60 per night fee tacked onto the bill just for amenities they may never use. The move brought in easy revenue for hotels, but it also left guests furious. Social media is filled with complaints Vegas is scamming its own customers. Hidden fees turned excitement into resentment. Next came the parking fees. In a city that once prided itself on free parking to welcome every visitor, corporations reversed course. Charging $15 to $25 per day for parking may sound small, but for budget-conscious travelers, it was another slap in the face. Instead of feeling valued, guests felt nickel and dimed at every turn. Then there's the casino floor itself. The introduction of 000 roulette was the breaking point for many gamblers. By adding an extra zero to the wheel, the house edge jumped significantly. For tourists, this wasn't just math, it was proof that Vegas no longer cared if you had fun, only if you lost faster. Regular players noticed, and many decided to stay away. But perhaps the biggest miscalculation came from billion-dollar vanity projects. Executives funneled unimaginable sums into Formula One and the Sphere, expecting global hype to translate into long-term profits. The F1 Grand Prix, heavily promoted with a $20 million sponsorship, turned the Strip into a traffic nightmare and alienated locals. Tourists complained of sky-high hotel rates, sometimes over $1,000 per night, only to find themselves stuck in gridlock. The event made headlines, but not for the right reasons. Meanwhile, the Sphere, a breathtaking technological marvel, cost over $2.3 billion to build. Yes, it looks stunning from the outside. Yes, the concerts inside wow audiences. But financially, it has been a disaster. Ticket sales and sponsorships can't cover the colossal debt. Instead of being a lifeline for the city, it has become a burden, forcing executives to double down on squeezing visitors elsewhere. The strategy behind these moves is clear. Corporations chased short-term revenue at the expense of long-term trust. They bet that tourists would simply swallow the fees, accept worse odds, and still come back for the novelty. For a while, that gamble worked. But in 2025, the bill has come due. Visitors have choices, and they're choosing anywhere but Vegas. The irony is painful. By trying to extract a few extra dollars through resort fees, parking charges, and overpriced buffets, casino operators may have permanently destroyed the loyalty of their customer base. Middle-class Americans, once the backbone of Vegas tourism, now say it's simply not worth it. International high rollers, meanwhile, see better value and more respect in Macau, Singapore, and Monaco. Executives wanted to turn Vegas into a luxury playground for the elite, but they forgot that the Strip was built by everyday Americans who came for affordable thrills. In chasing billionaires, they lost the middle-class families who filled the city every weekend. And in alienating locals with traffic chaos and unaffordable living costs, they weakened the very community that kept Vegas alive between big events. These weren't just mistakes. They were fatal errors, choices that accelerated the collapse. By prioritizing flashy projects and squeezing their customers dry, corporations didn't just gamble with Vegas's future. They rigged the game against themselves. When the casinos made their choices, it wasn't the executives who suffered first. It was the workers of Las Vegas, the people who actually keep the city alive. Behind every glowing neon sign and every spinning slot machine are the thousands of bartenders, dealers, housekeepers, cooks, and stagehands whose jobs depend on steady crowds of tourists. And now, those jobs are vanishing. In 2024 and 2025, industry reports confirmed that thousands of workers on the Strip were either laid off or had their hours cut. Some of the biggest resorts like MGM Resorts, International, and Caesars Entertainment quietly reduced staff in order to cut costs as revenues fell. For the employees, the change wasn't subtle. Entire shifts disappeared and part-time workers were told not to expect calls. One union representative put it bluntly, "Vegas doesn't feel like the American dream anymore. For most of us, it feels like survival." The collapse hits especially hard in hospitality jobs. Housekeepers, once able to count on reliable tips from tourists, now report empty rooms and fewer guests to clean for. Dealers at blackjack or poker tables see fewer players, smaller bets, and smaller tips. Restaurant servers struggle with diners who now order less, sometimes skipping drinks, sometimes sharing meals. In a town built on gratuities, that shrinking tip culture is devastating. Meanwhile, the cost of living in Clark County has exploded. Median rent in Las Vegas jumped nearly 30% in just 3 years, and the number of foreclosures is climbing again, a grim reminder of the 2008 housing crash that nearly destroyed the city. Families who once thought they had stability are now packing up and leaving the valley. For them, the Strip's bright lights mean nothing when they can't pay for groceries. The situation also exposes a deep hypocrisy. Casino executives still collect million-dollar bonuses even as they insist on cost-saving measures that cut workers' paychecks. The people who scrub floors, deal cards, and pour drinks are treated as expendable. And when those workers lose hope, the entire ecosystem of Vegas collapses. It's not just casino employees either. Taxi drivers, rideshare operators, street performers, small restaurant owners, and show producers all depend on the spillover effect of tourism. When tourists spend less, these workers feel it instantly. A taxi driver recently told a local paper, "I used to make 5 or 6 airport runs a night. Now, I'm lucky if I get 3. That's the reality, not the glossy ads promising a city that never sleeps. The human side of this crisis is heartbreaking. Families split apart as breadwinners move out of state for jobs. Children pulled from schools because parents can't afford rent. Retirees who once worked in the casinos are returning to low-wage jobs just to survive. The city that once promised opportunity is now pushing its own people into despair. And here's the irony: Vegas's entire global reputation was built by its workers. Without the cocktail servers delivering drinks with a smile, without the dealers making every hand feel exciting, without the performers dazzling audiences night after night, the Strip would have been just concrete and neon. But now, those same workers are treated as if they don't matter. And the result is a city that feels hollow, drained of the human spirit that once made it magical. This is the true fallout of Vegas's collapse. Not just numbers on a balance sheet, not just fewer tourists. It's the destruction of the very community that kept the city alive. And once those workers are gone, there may be no one left to rebuild. To truly understand what's happening in Las Vegas, you have to see it as more than a city. It's a mirror of America itself, and the reflection right now is alarming. For decades, analysts have said, if you want to know where America's economy is heading, look at the Strip. And the Strip is flashing warning lights brighter than any neon sign. Start with consumer spending. When middle-class Americans feel confident, they flock to Vegas. They gamble, they stay in hotels, they splurge on buffets and shows. But when they feel squeezed by inflation, layoffs, or high interest rates, Vegas is the first luxury they cut. That's exactly what's happening in 2025. Credit card debt in the US has surpassed $1.3 trillion. Delinquency rates are rising, and wages aren't keeping up with prices. If people can't afford a $300 hotel night in Nevada, how will they afford mortgages, groceries, and car payments back home? The real estate market in Vegas also reflects the national crisis. In Clark County, foreclosures are climbing again, eerily similar to the 2008 housing crash. Families who stretched to buy during the pandemic boom are now losing their homes as interest rates climb. The Strip may glitter, but just miles away, neighborhoods are filled with for sale signs and boarded-up houses. This is a preview of what could hit other American cities. There's also the question of identity. Atlantic City serves as a cautionary tale. Once marketed as the East Coast Vegas, it collapsed when tourists disappeared and casinos shut down. Today, Atlantic City is a shadow of its former self. Locals ask, is Las Vegas next? The parallels are hard to ignore. Over-reliance on gambling, revenue, corporate greed, neglected communities. It's the same playbook, just on a bigger stage. Vegas's decline also mirrors the erosion of the American middle class. In the 1990s, families could drive in from California, Arizona, or Utah, book a cheap room, and enjoy a weekend of entertainment without breaking the bank. Today, those same families are priced out. They see resort fees, parking charges, and $50 buffet tickets as symbols of an America that no longer cares about ordinary people. The betrayal of the Vegas experience is the betrayal of the American dream. Even global competition reflects America's slipping influence. Tourists who once considered Vegas the ultimate destination now choose Cancun, Tokyo, or Barcelona. International high rollers who once filled the high-limit rooms now prefer Macau, where they feel treated with more respect. America's inability to hold onto its crown jewel of tourism says something larger. It's losing ground in the global marketplace. What happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas anymore, it spreads. The layoffs of casino workers foreshadow layoffs in other industries. The housing instability mirrors national trends. The empty buffets and half-filled hotels echo the weakening of consumer confidence. Vegas is just the most visible stage for a drama playing out across the United States. The symbolism is almost too perfect. The entertainment capital of the world, a city built on illusion and confidence, is collapsing because Americans have lost confidence in their economy, their leaders, and their own futures. And when faith disappears, no amount of neon lights can bring it back. This is why Vegas matters. It's not just about one city in the desert. It's about whether the US can sustain a system built on endless consumption and debt. If Vegas can fall, maybe the entire model America has been selling the world is falling too. By now, it's clear that the problems facing Las Vegas are not temporary setbacks. They are structural failures that no amount of flashy advertising or billion-dollar projects can fix. The painful truth is this: for Vegas, it's already too late. The first reason is the broken business model. For decades, the Strip thrived by offering visitors the sense that anyone could win. Cheap buffets, free parking, fair odds, even if the house always won. In the long run, tourists felt like they got value. But today, the model is built on exploitation. Resort fees, parking charges, 000 roulette, $20 cocktails, and $50 buffets have turned Vegas from a place of excitement into a place of resentment. Once trust is broken, it's nearly impossible to restore. The second reason is the loss of international visitors. Before the pandemic, Chinese high rollers, European vacationers, and Canadian families filled the Strip. In 2025, those travelers are choosing Macau, Singapore, Cancun, or Tokyo instead. Global competition is fierce, and Vegas no longer holds the monopoly on spectacle. Tourists have discovered they can find the same glitz elsewhere, often cheaper and without hidden fees. The third reason is the collapse of domestic loyalty. The American middle class, the backbone of Vegas tourism, has been priced out. With credit card debt at record highs and wages stagnant, ordinary Americans simply can't justify spending thousands on a Vegas weekend. When families from California or Arizona say, it's not worth it anymore, that's not just a lost customer, it's a lost generation. And once families stop building traditions around Vegas, trips, the habit dies forever. The fourth reason is the unsustainable luxury illusion. Vegas has tried to reinvent itself as a high-end playground with billion-dollar stadiums, luxury suites, and massive shows. But the math doesn't add up. Cities like Dubai, Singapore, and Macau already dominate that market. Vegas can't out-luxury the rest of the world, especially when its core infrastructure, housing, transportation, worker stability is crumbling. The illusion of endless glamour collapses when guests step outside and see homeless encampments just blocks from the Strip. Even proposed rescue plans ring hollow. Expanding convention business, adding more stadiums, or luring new entertainment acts won't solve the root problem. They're band-aids on a system that's already bleeding out. The city's dependence on squeezing every dollar out of fewer and fewer visitors is a downward spiral. It's like raising the stakes on a bad bet, hoping luck will change, but in Vegas, the house edge is against itself. The final, perhaps most devastating reason: loss of identity. What made Vegas legendary wasn't just the lights or the casinos. It was the feeling that here ordinary people could live a fantasy for a weekend. That feeling has been destroyed by corporate greed. You can rebuild hotels, add new rides, or host more concerts, but you can't rebuild trust once it's gone. And trust is the currency Vegas can't afford to lose. That's why so many economists, workers, and even longtime visitors quietly admit the same thing. The collapse isn't coming, it's already here. The empty rooms, the shorter stays, the vanishing buffets, the laid-off workers, the families fleeing foreclosures, all of it proves that Vegas isn't just stumbling. It's falling in slow motion, and nobody can stop it. When future historians look back, they won't ask, "Why did Las Vegas collapse?" They'll ask, "Why didn't anyone admit it sooner?" In the end, the story of Las Vegas is the story of a dream that outlived its time. For decades, the entertainment capital of the world promised visitors they could escape reality even just for a weekend. But today, the bright neon signs only mask the truth: a city built on illusion can't survive when the illusion is gone. Walk down the Las Vegas Strip at night, and you'll still see the glowing marquees of Caesar's Palace, the fountains at the Bellagio, and the towering Sphere lighting up the desert sky. But listen closely, and you'll hear the silence. Fewer tourists, emptier casinos, workers without jobs, and families leaving the valley because they can no longer afford to stay. Vegas once stood as a symbol of the American dream, a place where anyone, no matter their background, could feel like a winner. Now, it has become a warning about greed, about short-term thinking, and about what happens when a system values profits over people. The collapse of Las Vegas isn't just about one city in the desert. It's about what happens when the foundations of trust and fairness are broken beyond repair. And if it can happen here in a city that was once unstoppable, it raises a darker question: what part of America is next? Nobody can stop Vegas's collapse, because by the time anyone admitted there was a problem, it was already too late. So now, the question goes to you. Do you believe Las Vegas can ever recover? Or is this truly the end of its story? Tell us in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden truths America doesn't want to face.